Hey everyone, I hope everyone's you're all doing well. Sorry I haven't really made a video in a while. This life has gotten in the way, but I've actually got something a little bit special. Kind of wrote a couple things. I wrote this stuff for a couple friends in the past. Just kind of a way to basically pass the time. But I was kind of inspired by a very interesting source. Won't tell you what it is right away because, like I always like for people to guess. There is a so you can look these up if you know what it is. Just note that after a while, some of these are pretty much my own creation, just because I realized, well, where is this? Where is that? And I've actually kind of started to think about other kinds of source material for that. Just have to kind of get a little bit of feedback from certain people because some things will be much bigger than the others. But I just call this emotions. Okay, rage is born from a lack of trust in those who make so many suffer. Without rage, our world is nothing but a sickly sweet soup choking life. Avarice is a big sin brought on people having way too much. They flaunt their wealth and power, but rarely give back to quell the envy. Fear can be born from anything we understand so little about. There is nothing wrong with having fear, as unknown forces are at play. Will is a strange thing that can quickly change in a flash if we falter. It said, some people keep on going no matter how bad things get and succeed. Hope is too fragile for a world full of violence, said that prevents solace. We all want good things to said happen and do our best to improve odds. Compassion is one building block of life that needs extra inclusion. Caring for others helps to close old wounds so that no one is alone. Love can mean many things as people show fondness towards anything. Humans are ruled by hormones that chase away gloom and forces smiles. It said, death can happen to anything that imitates life or fades in use. Once something is born, it starts to die, and said, and the journey is what really counts. Life is so precious, yet sadly wasted on those unable to love. It said, the first cries of a baby, it said, brings tears to many and gives some a duty. Apathy comes from the loss of emotions meant said to bring the world color. It said, being abandoned creates a large wall that keeps many good things out. Knowledge is a gift that allows us to learn what our small world is. Not everyone is able to hold on to the wisdom they receive. Sorrow plagues us all because we must feel every little emotion. And said, if we never felt sad, said, how could we learn to be cheerful afterwards? Joy can be a great wonder and a curse if the person isn't right. Said, some people can be happy all the time no matter what happens. Said, pride isn't a full sin because we must enjoy accomplishments. It said, there's little point in doing anything if we don't enjoy hard work. Curiosity is a part of life that helps us grow and maybe learn. If we don't know what something is, we attempt to get a better look. Trust is so fragile, said, as it's easily given and rarely is a return. The world is full of strangers, and we are taught to avoid the unknown. Honesty is hard to do all the time because feelings are cagey. As we become woke, and so we can't make everyone happy all the time. Confusion is the bizarre catch of life, as not everything makes sense. It said, there is so much to learn and not enough time, it said, to make sure enough sticks. Courage is used in many ways, as life is a very scary place. Not knowing what lies around the corner can be a constant battle. Insanity can be a hard topic to bring up as it's so broad. Doing the same thing over and over can be called insanity. So one thing I gotta say about this is that when I wrote this thing, there's actually a lot more to the actual work. So there's basically about 20 little subjects in there, and there was like so many lines per ones. This was just the first two, kind of like a bit of a little teaser trailer. Um, And yeah, so I always felt like emotions really kind of are an interesting ways kind of talking about, because some people are definitely very difficult. I mean, I'm on the spectrum, and sometimes I can be very overwhelmed and just not entirely sure, how everyone else may feel about life. Because you may see someone that's always like so super happy all the time, and it's just like if they ever went sad, what do you think they would do? It's just like it's not fair that if everyone is constantly happy all the time, no matter what, it seems like there's something, maybe they're trying to mask some kind of pain. So yeah, and that's kind of why I kind of found like the recent Inside Out movie to be kind of just terrible. Mostly because of the new emotions are not exactly what most people would think. Because anxiety is supposed to like take was shown like taking over everything, but it makes it seem as though it was supposed to be just one separate thing, and yet anxiety is more of an accessory that clings to everything. Because you can be very anxious about something, like really happy, like starting a new job, meeting someone new. Maybe it's like if you just finished finished one semester of school and you're going to the next one. That's something to actually to be quite happy about. But you can actually be happy, happy, but still be, feel like, you're ready to like, do almost anything. So they pretty much made it, they really did a terrible thing, just like with them embarrassment. I mean, like, you basically can do something and then be embarrassed, like maybe, I didn't know I could do that, or maybe something didn't go right. So you wonder why you even attempted that. And that's just terrible. Didn't really understand that ennui kind of thing, because that just basically means that's more like apathy said at best, said rather than just the fact that like a lack of interest. And yet when they kind of showed Riley, shifting to that, it made it seem as though she was very it said aloof, but she was still able to kind of function like a regular person. It said, and yet in the very previous one, like even the slightest touch of the console from the original emotions, instant change. It makes it seem as though that everything that the other emotions were, defined like like when like that awkward dinner scene. Okay, she immediately started kind of a little bit of freaking out when fear was there. She definitely got a little bit annoyed when disgust, was there, and then definitely a little bit more annoyed when anger showed up. It was like it was almost like the whole thing was like one thing at a time, and yet all this stuff was basically meant to be mixed together, to create slightly different emotions, and that just defined what a human is. It was just like way too all over the place. I mean, envy at least was the one that made the most sense, because you see something, really amazing, and you kind of want to be part of it, or try something new. Because if your life is pretty much routine, you know the slightest, something different would say, "Oh, what's this?" He said, "Oh, I want that." Then and then kind of made when they showed like the older student on the hockey team. That's definitely something you do work up to, and yet, but I mean, I could definitely understand that, but it still made it seem as though it was actually able to show a lot more, a series of other emotions rather than just being, tied together. Because when they kind of showed that mixed core emotions, like towards the end, there was none of that in this one. And we would think like, all these new emotions, together would finally create something better. Nothing else happened other than the new plot about the whole core values that definitely could have been there the entire time, but no one really understood why not. It always just kind of makes it seem as though that once one emotion takes over, we don't want to let that one go. It's like we don't know how to be anything else, no matter what other people say. And yeah, it's just like if you're ruled by one emotion and then something else happens, what exactly said it's not going to be a good thing. There was actually this movie called The Sphere with like Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, and Samuel L. Jackson, where they kind of found this weird spaceship, and they get this message from this character that says, "And I'm feeling happy," and Dustin Hoffman is actually freaking out because, I was surprised he didn't have any emotions at all, because then he asked the question, what happens when this character gets mad? Because, you've either not had any emotion, or, that you don't know what else is, and you pretty much turn into the Incredible Hulk. And sadly, some people are like that, and no matter what kind of friends they think they might have, it's just not, always going to be the easiest thing. You can talk to, therapists, but it's just like, if literally everything is said outside of that little section, triggers something in you, people just don't want to admit that maybe, they can do something to actually help with a situation. So, but all the same, do try to be well, said, in your life, and definitely lend an ear, for anyone who needs a friend, because, you never know where you're gonna drift in life. Just kind of like, you could easily grow up with someone for like so many years, as you're in your adolescence, and then as soon as you hit adulthood, you're gone. You barely think to reconnect, because maybe you really don't remember that much about the person, and then, you know you never know if someone's going to actually reach out first. But, maybe that's something we all really, should do, because you never know if someone, is, in a difficult place, when it's like, oh yeah, I remember you, I remember all this. You can just be that distraction from life. And even if nothing really is important going on, you just would say, hey, I don't really have too many friends right now. Instead, let's just pick a time, to talk, elsewhere. I mean, after all, with everyone addicted to their phones, there's always going to be some way for someone to pick up, call someone, text message, or even a video chat. Can mean a lot. Can mean a lot of good, for people who feel like they're constantly in the dark. So, I'll talk to you guys again on Wednesday. I've got a few. I'm gonna actually shift from, poetry to basically just talks about life. Um, just basically basic thoughts. Saying, hey, do you guys know about this? Know about that. You know, almost as though, just sometimes, because you never know what someone else's life is going to be like, so they wouldn't have any clue, what something actually is, and it's like, hey, it said this guy seems to know what he's talking about. So, hope you guys have a good one. Take care.